Can everybody see my screen? Great. Could you just give me a thumbs up? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's start. What we're going to work through today, and this is, if you've come to some of my workshops in the past, I actually have run a workshop on this in the past, but I have significantly changed this up. So there's a fair bit of new material that you'll see today. So who's the session for? The session's for founders and CEOs building real businesses, leading private companies. Their teams are growing, complexity is increasing. If you want a business that runs without you one day, frankly, you're in the right room. So I'm going to teach you some skills and share a brand new playbook with you today to help you get there. And the key one here is if you're tired of being the bottleneck for every decision, you're definitely in the right room. Loaded with gifts today. One of my sprints this quarter has been to codify all of my IP, and it's codify my IP, and you're going to see an example of that today when I actually will provide you a copy of the playbook for this. Crystal will also provide you a copy of the presentation, and a bit later on we're going to do some work together, and there'll be an AI prompt which Crystal, my BA, will share with you. Okay. So I'll keep you up. So just have a quick read of this and see which resonates with you the most. I'd love you to drop something in chat if about which one resonates the most, or if it's more than one thing. These aren't unusual problems. Every growth stage CEO I work with faces some version of this. The question isn't whether you have the issues, it's whether you have a system to fix them. And today is about fixing one of those. So love to see in the chat which one resonates with you or which couple resonates you, if you can. Ian, the bottleneck won the most. No man is an island, Ian, and I'm sure Crystal would probably attest that I could very well fit into that category as well. So what I wanted to show you, it would start by saying is you're not alone, okay? This feeling of being stuck, the frustration of going out alone, the quality of life sacrifices, and the exceedingly hard work required to scale a company, you are not alone. As I said, we had some issues this time around with our email invitations going out. We normally end up with about 150 sign up. We get about 45 turn up on the day. So it's a much smaller group. But I put this slide up every time and guarantee the 42 to 45 who turn up to one of these webinars, they all nod their head. Oops. A friend of mine, Scott Tannis, did a survey. So Scott was the founder of a company called Western Financial Group. He grew the company from ground up and he sold it from memory for about $465 million in 2013. So a significant company. And after he did that, he did some research to understand how where the he called them the valleys of death and where the key breakthrough points are for growing a company. So these are about 2014 figures. It's US figures, 28 million firms in the US. And what he did from a significant piece of research was found that 96% of all companies in the US do not get past $1 million in revenue. So only 4% get past $1 million in revenue. Only 0.4% of companies get past $10 million in revenue. And only 17,000 of 28 million firms get past 50 million in revenue. Now, when I dove a bit more deeply into this and spoke to Scott, I've equated it to the number of FTEs, full-time equivalents. So when an owner gets to 10 FTEs, that's when they stall. When they get to 25 FTEs, that's when they stall. They get to 100 FTEs, that's when they stall. They seem to be the barriers. It's the ones and the threes. When you get to 10, that first valleys of death, that's when the processes have to change. And the founder needs to hire a second in command. And the business needs a fundamental culture change. When you get to 25, you're probably needing a CFO. Middle management becomes really critical. And intentionality in building the culture becomes more important. And I'm going to talk a lot about that today. Passing 100 employees the valley of death, a whole new internal communication plan is vital for alignment. Company politics, because at this stage, the CEO can't interview everybody. So the values and the culture of the company has to be deeply embedded into the business. What's really interesting, I then looked at these figures, I then went searching, and what we found was the percentages at 4%, 0.4%. Those percentages are pretty much the same everywhere. They're the same in Mexico, though the quantum of the numbers are different. They're the same in Europe, and here we are in Australia. Look at this, up to this is, I couldn't get figures for 1 million, but 96.23% of firms are below that 1 million. Yeah, the 2 to 10, 3. Okay, it's not 4, 3. The numbers equate in all jurisdictions I looked at. Oops, sorry, there it is there. Okay, so you're sitting here. Why listen to me? Bit of background, CEO 4 times over. My current business is probably the smallest, but I've been a CEO of 600 staff over 9 countries. So multiple experience. I've coached over 200 founders and CEOs now. I've been a non-executive director for 5 firms and still am a non-executive director of a superannuation fund that we now have $680 million under management. I specialize in helping $2 to $20 million plus founders and CEOs to scale profitably and build high performance teams. I strengthen the leadership and help you get your life back. I suppose the most important thing though is I've made the same mistakes you have. Actually, I know I've made far more than you have. I've wasted tens of thousands of dollars getting coached, not wasted, spent tens of thousands of dollars getting coached, and you're going to get some of my experience today. So let's talk about your people. In my view, oh, sorry, just getting a bit out of control here. Now let's do this first, the unhidden agenda. So I want to be upfront with you. Today is not a sales pitch, okay? But there is a next step for some of you. By the end of the session, you'll know whether a complementary game plan session makes sense to you. It's where we do the real thinking, deep diving into your business and look at your business, your team, and your constraints. It's complementary. It's because it's not about selling, it's about fit. I only work with a small number of founder CEOs long term, and the game plan lets us both decide whether working together would actually create value. So some of you will just come to this presentation today. Some of you will take up my offer of a complementary game plan and go no further. Some of us will decide to work together going forward. I just wanted to be upfront with you so that there is no surprises. So I think that the problems in your business isn't necessarily your people. It's not lazy staff, it's not bad hires, it's not underperformance. In many ways, it's the lack of clarity, structure, and rhythm. Now, I'm going to talk to you about this, but we'll also deep dive into how we coach our talent, how do we assess our talent, and how we coach our talent. The key thing for you is that we're looking for you to change. I'm sorry, I have to apologize. I have 2 screens happening. I've got one with all my notes and I've got one in the slide pack for you, and I'm a bit dyslexic today, not getting it right. So there's 3 shifts that change everything for you. And it's from moving from firefighter to builder. So changing your mindset from doing the work to building the team that does the work for you in the business. The second shift is from confusion to clarity. So this is making accountability visible with real structure, not just an org chart. And the third one is building your A team. Defining what great looks like and coaching your people to get there, or making the tough calls on some people that they need to move on. These 3 shifts, when they work together, are what separates a business that depends on you from a business that runs without you. So let's just start with the most fundamental. And this is the CEO mindset. So firefighter to builder. At the moment in United, when you looked at those problems early on, most CEOs get to a stage when they're the firefighters, solving problems, plugging out gaps, running faster than the chaos around them. You know, that thing when all of your staff just keep knocking on your door all day long saying, hey boss, what about? Hey boss, how do I, etc. This mind set shift for you is all about going from firefighter to builder. Your job isn't to do the work, it's to build the team that does the work. Let's be honest. How many of you feel as though you're the firefighter rather than the builder at the moment? Hands up. You're all in the builder mode? No, Mike Ian's there. Sam?
I think it's a compilation because I'm running a accounting firm, okay, and not running a trading or just business it can run by itself. So it involves a lot of expertise, like legal firm or accounting firm involve a lot of expertise and experience. And the drama to me, I already tried to build a team, and I built administration team as well as professional service team. But with the scale, it's when you compete and on the talent market and also the budget wise, if you find someone really can handle every complex professional issues of the client, then it's really hard at the moment. So I have sometimes, most of the time it's fine. Most of my work is being delegated, but sometimes for the hard issues with deadlines, then I have to do some firefighting. But it's just project by project. It's not every day.
Okay, that's good. You're a lot further progressed than most people I talk to in this one. Okay, so the second shift is about moving from confusion to clarity, and this is about building accountability that drives results. It's about defining who owns what, not necessarily who reports to whom. So it's giving accountability down to everybody in your team. When two people are accountable for the same thing, no one is accountable. So clear ownership equals faster decisions, fewer excuses, and better execution. This is about making accountable visible in every seat, in every role, in every metric. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is a tool called the Organization Accountability Chart. I'm sorry, it's quite small, but this is one of the key tools that we use when we use with my clients. And so if you can't read it, I apologize. I'll read it through. The first thing is identify every functional role in the business. The second thing, person accountable. Now, if you read the instructions down below, the key, number 3, identify if there's more than one person in a seat. If there's a person in more than one seat, guaranteed if you're a scaling company, you as the CEO probably have 3 or 4 hats, if not more. Where there are empty seats, and the final question, would you enthusiastically rehire all of your team? And then what we do is take each one of the key lines in your P&L and balance sheet and allocate it to one person ultimately accountable. As an example, head of sales would normally be accountable for revenue, as an example. So functional role, person accountable. What are the leading critical numbers, KPIs? Do you understand the difference between leading and lagging? Okay, I'll give you a quick rundown. A leading KPI for a sales business development person could be number of real quality calls done with your ideal client profile target in a week. So the number of real quality calls, this is not an email, this is not a left a message. And the lagging outcome would be revenue. So leading tends to be an activity, lagging is an outcome like revenue. So what are the leading critical KPIs? What are the lagging KPIs? What are the 5 top priorities for the person in the role? Do you have a scorecard complete for them? I'm going to tell you about scorecards in a moment. And do you have a 90-day, 1-page plan complete for the person? Okay, if you think about those last 2, if you think about them all, firstly, who's accountable? Solely accountable. What are the KPIs leading and lagging? What are the 5 top priorities for the role? Do we have a scorecard complete? And do we have a 90-day, 1-page plan complete? If you just get into the rhythm of completing and following up on this tool, you will fundamentally change your business. So I've talked about scorecards. So what is a scorecard? A scorecard comes from a methodology called top grading, which is one of my key pillars. Top grading was developed by a guy called Brad Smart. He was the people and culture lead for Jack Welch at General Electric in the halcyon days. He did over 10,000 assessments of CEOs and leaders and found that the companies that use scorecards consistently achieve 90% A-player hiring rates. So I'll explain that in a moment. Those that do not, they get about 25% A-player hiring rates. Now, I'm going to come back to A-players in a lot of detail in a moment, but an A-player is someone who lives your company values very highly and is extremely productive in their role. High on values, high on productivity. A scorecard is how we design the role. It's not a position description in the traditional way, in the traditional sense. So firstly, we build a mission statement for each role. Why does the role exist? What does success look like? 1 to 5 sentences at the highest level. It's not about tasks, it's about outcomes. We then have the key accountabilities. What are the 3 to 8 measurable outcomes with KPIs, leading and lagging? As an example, for a marketing person, it would not be managed marketing. It would be something like deliver 150 qualified leads per month at less than $50 cost per lead. Can you see the difference? What a scorecard does, there's nowhere to hide really. And then the key competencies. These are role specific, the behaviors and capabilities needed to deliver those outcomes. 5 to 8, 3 to 5 of those are generally a cultural competency based on your core values. So top grading has defined 52 of these being the key competencies, key ones you can choose from. So it's not a job description. A job description tends to list tasks. A scorecard defines what an A-player looks like in the specific seat. So if we go back to the organizational accountability chart, the second column to the right, is there a scorecard complete for them? So let's just talk about one of my clients. And just a really simple example. Phil ran a company called HiPack, owned. It's a medical device supplier and manufacturing. I say had, he and his business have graduated from my program, but he had 2 people sharing the sales and marketing accountability. And for months and months, both were pointing fingers when revenue missed targets. Once we installed a scorecard for both of them with a single owner, all sorts of things happened. Decisions sped up, lead flow doubled, and revenue consistently returned within 90 days. All because we actually clarified the accountabilities and clarified the targets. Really simple. Another tool we use is the future hook chart. And this is all about hiring by revenue, not dates. So what happens with a lot of private companies is that budgeting may not be great. Suddenly we need a new resource, a new talent with specific roles. And we're flat-footed and we go looking to hire, and we probably hire someone 3, 6, 9 months too late for where we should be in our strategy. I would argue that when you plan to fill a position, it shouldn't be by date. It should be by the dollar value of revenue that triggers the role. So let me say that again, by the dollar value of revenue that triggers the role. So we're looking at, excuse me, my dogs are just barking. We're looking at stopping reactive hiring. We're looking at planning 3 years ahead. We're looking at, and I'll give you an example. We're looking at matching your people to your strategy. So in this case, as an example, we may decide that our next most important hire is in fact a marketing manager, as for want of an example. But based on our revenue at the moment, we can't afford to hire a marketing manager. So in our future org chart plan, we're looking to say hire the marketing manager at $3 million revenue. And we're currently at 2.5 mil. So based on our cash flow analysis, we know that we'll be at $3 million revenue in 12 months. That means that we trigger a hiring decision at 9 months from today, because we know we're going to have the right revenue at 12 months. Excuse me just for a second. Yeah. Shh. I've got a renovation happening, and I've got tradies everywhere. So whenever the dogs see a new tradie, they go off. So I apologise if you're hearing that noise. The idea behind the future org chart is that we are scheduling strategic hires based on a revenue target. And we're looking to hire someone 3 months in advance of when we hit that revenue target. So the person, not only do we have them hired on time, but we also have them up and running at the right revenue number. I have a whole playbook on this. Please let me know if you'd like a copy of that. I'm very happy to provide it to you. At the moment, I'm really like I'm skimming along the top, if that makes sense. So now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of today. How to assess your talent. How to assess your talent. So we do this on the basis of two axes. On the bottom axis, see the writing is very small, productivity in the role. And on the left-hand axis is how they live, how they culturally fit with your business and how they live your values. So along the bottom, productivity. On the left-hand side, how they live your values. In the past, so when I started as a coach, I was taught by a guy called Vern Harnish, who wrote a book called Scaling Up. And he had a matrix like this, but it was, if you can imagine, it was 4 quadrants, not the 9 I've got here. And an A player would be from 6 to 10 and 6 to 10. What I've found and what I strongly believe is that just is not enough. It hides too many things. So what I've modeled this on using a number of thought leaders, a guy called Mike Goldman, a guy called Jim Collins, is I've made it harder. Because if you really want to scale your business, we're talking about looking to get the best people in the roles that you can afford. Okay. So what is an A player? An A player is a high-performing member of your team. Is a fabulous cultural fit and lives your values to the extreme and is very high on productivity in their role. Our goal is to fill your team with A players. Okay. A B player who's medium performing, these are the orange here. These are people, they may be new to the business. So you may have hired someone who's got high on values, but they just haven't got up to scratch yet on productivity in the role. Or they may need coaching to become an A player. A C player is someone who's low on productivity. So that's that left-hand column. Or they could be reasonably high on productivity, but they have a very low cultural fit. Yeah, I call them toxic C players. They could very well be that salesman who does very well, but who'll screw over every member of the team. Okay. I know this is looking a bit daunting, but don't worry about it because I'm actually going to show you how to score the cost of having the wrong people. And then we're going to take an AI prompt and we're actually going to let you start. I'll show you how to actually do this. How to score your team. We score on productivity and we score on culture fit value score. So the productivity, how well are you delivering against KPIs? Are they delivering against KPIs? Are they exceeding, meeting, below? An A player has to be 8.5 plus on both dimensions. Culture fit, once again, how do they consistently, do they live your core values? Most of the time, some of the time, rarely lives the values. Okay. The most important thing here is the culture fit living your values. The most important thing here is the culture fit living your values. The reason for that, we can train people to be productive. We can't train people to be honest. Does that make sense? So I just want to jump into the concept of the real cost of a bad hire. Once again, Top Grading did some research on this and across 10,000 plus assessments. And the cost of mishires for a frontline role is five times their base salary. For a manager, it's 15 times. For an executive, it's 27 times. So if you think about that, a $100,000 mishire costs $565,000 when you add it all up. Compensation, opportunity costs, disruption, hiring, and severance. This is why we go back to the scorecard when we're hiring, because we want to make sure we're doing our best to hire the right people. So let's go, just going back here. Oops, sorry, here. So your job is to move, your job is to move B players to A players. Sorry, firstly, your job is to keep A players, keep your A players. The second job is to move B players to that top right to become A players. And the third job is to redeploy internally or out of the company your C players. You're looking for a culture, you're looking for an A player culture. So just jump down a bit. Sorry. I argue that you just can't build. You can't build a $10 million plus business with B player habits or with B players. You just can't do it. The people who are going to help you build a $10 million business are your A players. These are the high productivity, high cultural fit. They thrive in clarity. They thrive in accountability and systems. I would argue that you don't build a great company. You build great people and they build the company. Because if it's all about you, that just means you've got a job. Maybe a very high paying job, but it's a job. So the stats are interesting. A players cost 10 to 30% more than the average hires, but they return 10x on results. So you need to get over the sticker shot. To get the right people, you're going to be you're hiring less, but you're hiring better. The other stuff that comes in is A players want to work with A players. When you tolerate B player performance, your A players notice and they start looking for the door. The other thing is B players hire B players and C players. It becomes a compounding problem. A weak team keeps you working in the business. An A player team frees you up to grow the business. And on this call, Crystal, who's my EA, is a classic example of that. I've got this whole thing, content thing that is just an engine that happens that I helped build it. I wrote the content, but Crystal just manages all of that. It doesn't worry me. I used to have lots of sleepless nights. Not anymore. Okay. So one KPI for you and all the leaders, and that KPI is at least 80% of the leadership team are A players. 80% of your leadership are A players. Culture fit plus productivity. If you don't have 80% A players, nothing else will work. Your structure will break and your results will break. This one metric keeps me up at night as a coach. When I look at my clients and their leadership teams and they haven't got the A player leadership team, I know that we've got problems. And it's a problem as a coach that I really need to work on with the CEO. So coach first, decide second. Clarity plus support equals accountability equals results. So the key thing here is when someone's off track, you don't hope it changes. This is about coaching and planning the turnaround. So the first thing is diagnose the gap. Skill, will, or clarity. Each requires a different response. Do they have the skills to do the job? Do they have the will to do the job? Do they actually know what the job is? There's your first question you ask. The second thing is set three clear 90-day outcomes. Measurable, observable outcomes, not tasks. Results by when. When you're looking to coach someone from a B player to an A player, we coach weekly, not monthly. We help them remove roadblocks and we give them direct feedback. I have another playbook on how to coach your team if you'd let me know. And at 90 days, we assess. Is the performance of the team member consistent with what the role requires? If they're not improving, at what stage do you say, enough, this can't continue? And then you have to decide, do you extend the coaching plan? Do you promote them? Or do you exit them? No perpetual review. Your people will appreciate this style of coaching because it's about being clear. In the playbook that Crystal will upload, there are 8 questions to help you diagnose whether or not you continue to proceed with the person or are they better having a dignified exit. So when at the bottom there it says tools, use the 8 questions to diagnose, use the GWC tool for any low producing person before deciding. That's all in your playbook, okay? So what we're going to do now, we actually can do a bit of work. Crystal, can you drop the AI prompt in the chat, please? So guys, how many of you use AI at the moment? Hands up. Yeah. Mike? Yes.
Sorry, I use AI, yeah.
Okay. What I'd like you to do, Crystal. Yes, sorry. I thought there was a question. Okay. What I'd like you to do is open your AI tool of your choice. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whichever one you like, open that up. And can you please copy the prompt from the chat into your AI tool of choice? When you've done that, could you just put your hand up for me, please? Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Sam. Okay. So the AI prompt is set up, if you look at the screen, you can see it. It's a bit small, but the way I prompt AI is by doing a number of things. So you've copied that in. Crystal, have we dropped in the playbook into the chat yet? Oh, you have. Could you open up in the chat? There's a talent assessment playbook you can download. I want you to download that and I want you to upload that into your AI of choice. So upload the file into your AI of choice in addition to the prompt. Okay, so you've uploaded the AI prompt down to and including apply the midnight test. You've uploaded the tool. And what the AI prompt is going to do is going to act as an expert panel. You can see that in the panel. It's Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great, Patrick Lencioni, the author of 5 Different Functions of a Team, Mike Goldman, the author of Strength of Talent, and me. The AI prompt is then said, upload the talent assessment playbook, which you've done. Don't worry about the core values document if you don't have one. And then it's going to ask you a series of questions about, I just want you to pick one leader on your team. So it's going to ask you a series of questions, and then it's going to rate the member for you. It's then going to, for every B or C player, it's going to push you to make a decision. Its instructions are, do not accept vague answers. If I say they're improving, ask specifically what is changing and by when. And once you've worked through the whole team, you won't do that today, it will rank them all based on that metrics A, B, C players, etc. And at the end, it's going to ask a midnight test. If I read this at midnight before a hard week, will I know exactly who to act on first? Upload the AI prompt, upload the playbook, and let's spend 7 minutes you having a go at answering the questions. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Do we copy and paste each message or just the first message of AI prompt?
The whole AI prompt.
So
Well,
rate each person A, B, C, all of that.
Yeah, the whole AI prompt. So when it starts AI
Yeah.
prompt, all the way down to apply the midnight test.
Got
So
it.
copy all of that in, and then you upload the playbook, which was also in the chat. The playbook is the IP. So it should be starting to ask you questions. Here's a hint. Dictate in rather than type. Dictate in rather than type. There should be a mic in your AI of choice. There's probably a microphone in the bottom right. Dictate your answers in. It'll save you buku time. So I've just got a time for 7 minutes. I'm just going to be here. So pop up with any questions. How are you all going? And are you getting good feedback? Can't hear you, sorry.
I'm on mute. Yes, I'm going, and I think it's providing some interesting feedback.
Phil, how are you going?
Yeah, good. Interesting.
Sam?
Yep, all good. I'm getting feedback about my lead engineer.
Okay. Do you want some more time and keep going, or what's your thoughts? We're running early, so.
I think we can do this after the call. It's good to have you on the call, and we can do the AI later.
Okay, and Phil, you happy with that?
Yep.
Okay. So I suppose one thing, what you're seeing here is how I'm using AI as an accelerator. In the past, a lot of the things that I'm using AI for would be taking days, if not weeks. And so I'm now using it very much to accelerate my thinking and accelerate my clients' work as well. I'm just going to show you something we shared with you. Bear with me for a second. So if you just look at my screen, I've mentioned, I got you to upload the talent assessment playbook. This is what you uploaded. So this is all of my IP consists now, because I've been rebuilding it, now consists of the playbook, a series of tools, and a series of tool examples. Okay. So the playbook is generally about 9 to 10 pages, and it gives you the theory. So building an A player culture, why A players matter, a bit of the theory, what happens when you don't act. A players disengage when they carry the weight of B and C players around them. A toxic C player sets a cultural flaw. Others learn what you're prepared to tolerate. Waiting 18 plus months with the wrong person will compound the cost every quarter. And your best people watching. How you handle underperformance is how they read your values. So in here is the scoring framework. So this is what the AI was using to start answering your questions with that AI prompt. Okay. The talent assessment matrix, I showed you a copy of that on the slide. A blank assessment, what the labels mean. It goes into what each rating means in your plan. So with A players, your plan is retain them, know it keeps them there beyond the salary, challenge them, check they're not carrying B and C players that will cost you them. B player, your plan is use the 8 questions, you'll see that in a moment, develop or replace. If developing a 90-day plan with specific KPIs, which is what the AI is doing for you now, a coaching cadence and a clear threshold for A player performance, and set the date. If the threshold is not reached by that date, act. Then we go down to C players, low producing, your plan, run the GWC diagnostic. This is, do they get it? Do they want it to? Do they understand the role? If it's a low cultural fit, name the behavior, set a time-bound expectation. If nothing changes, use the truth funnel. You'll see that later on. If it's a toxic C player, these are the most urgent to remove from any team. How you implement it with timelines and your plan. Here are the 8 questions. So these are the questions to ask if you have B players on the team. Are you beginning to lose other staff clients because you're keeping this person in the seat? Do you have a values problem, skills problem, or a will problem? Do they see what they're doing as a job or a responsibility? Job is to do surgery. Responsibility is for the health of a patient. Does the person they blame or take responsibility? Has your confidence in the person gone up or down in the past year? Do you have a bus problem or a seat problem? Are they in the right seat on the bus, or shouldn't they be on the bus floor? If the person resigned today giving 3 months' notice, would you be relieved or distressed? And does the person create drama? This is the GWC, the right person, right seat. So all of this, if you think about the AI prompt, it is reading off this playbook. Common mistakes. Wait too long on C players. Running the assessment alone. This is something your leadership team should do. Tolerating toxic C players because of revenue. No timing targets before the action plan. Running this once. This should be a quarterly rhythm in your business. And coaching B players without a threshold. There's a truth funnel here. If the person's the wrong person, how do you facilitate a dignified exit? And the conversation. I also have another playbook on facilitating an exit. And then here's the AI prompt that you put in. Okay, so that is, you've got that playbook. That's my gift to you today. And as I said, I think I said there are 56 more of those, and about, I think at last count, 186 tools and worked examples of the tools. So they're all of that. This is my codified P. So just bear with me. So going back to here. So just wrapping up now. So the key 3 mistakes that keep CEOs stuck. Firstly is no clarity. So your team have unclear expectations and therefore there's no accountability. No cadence. Coaching happens randomly, not rhythmically. You really should be with your leadership team doing one-to-ones at least every fortnight, if not weekly. With your team members who are not performing, they should be being coached weekly. And no courage. Leaders delay tough calls and breed mediocrity. One of the hardest things about being a CEO is actually giving harsh or strong feedback. The sooner you do it, the better. So the key thing here is you don't build a great company. Your people will build the great company for you. You build great people. And with clear structure, clear roles, and A players in every seat, you stop being the bottleneck. And that's how you get your life back. I'll just gloss over this. You've been given a copy of this presentation, by the way, so you can go back to any part of it. I just want to give you an idea of one of my clients, new clients rang me last week, and I had this fabulous phone call. It was all about him now thinking on the business rather than in the business, which is where we need to get to. This is, Ian, your point about being the bottleneck. It's getting out of the way, yeah? So he'd been with me for 2.5 months. He'd done 4 tools at that stage with me, 5 tools really. So a 3-year vivid vision, his 3-year leader's intent, his 3-year winning move. So this is the strategic piece. Built his CEO dashboard, and we worked on his team structure. So 5 things were done in 2.5 months. He rang me and said he'd generate from just doing that, he generated $250,000 in additional revenue in 2.5 months. And it was not magic. It was all about getting clarity on people, structure, and priorities. And his team stepped up. And he got out of the way. He stopped doing things he shouldn't be doing. So the things I've shown you today, the theory, the playbook, this presentation, the AI prompt, is all about you working on the business and getting out of the way, if that makes sense. Okay, so I really urge you to go away and read that playbook and continue implementing on this on the prompt to assess your team. So essentially, you walk away from today, you've got 2 choices. One is do nothing different, go back to the same meeting, same flogging of numbers, the same firefighting, and hope that clarity appears on its own. Guarantee it won't. Option 2 is to decide deliberately, take what you started today and turn it into something real and get the rhythm going. You'll see this in the presentation you've got. This is my coaching framework, just so you know the broader picture. What we're working on today is on the left-hand side, there's a green box that says A Player Leadership at Every Seat. This is one of the 7 playbooks and tool sets within that green box, just to give you an idea of the scope of the coaching. So, look, if I can help you in any way, if I can help you grow your business, please book a complimentary CEO game plan session. The link is here on the slide and also in the chat. I'd be very happy to have a conversation with you and deep dive into something your greatest pain point. But that's my content for the day. So I'm going to throw to you guys. Any questions? Ian, Phil, Mike?
That's been really useful, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to trying that with some of the team.
So how big is your team then?
We are 16, 17 people. We've got two lines of business. We've got kind of services side. We've got a platforms business. So our revenue is kind of in the 30, 35 mil, I think.
Great.
But a lot of that is low margin. I measure our business performance on margin rather than revenue. That's the bit that's paying the salaries.
If you go onto YouTube into my channel, which is Jonathan Herps, last month I did a workshop on a CEO dashboard, and some of the metrics in that workshop would be worth you having a look at, I think.
Okay. What was the workshop called, sorry?
It's on the CEO dashboard.
Cool.
Yeah. We record all of these and put them on YouTube. So there's 130 plus CEO interviews I've done. There's lots of teaching that we're building a library in there as well. So you can go back and look at all those. If I can help you with any of, once you've had a look at the playbook, if I can help you with any of the playbooks, let me know. Phil?
That sounds great.
Sorry, I joined late. I got my time zones wrong. I'm in Adelaide. So
Right.
I thought, did I miss 2 minutes or half an hour? And I realized it was half an hour. I guess one question that comes to mind for me, and I like the numbers process of scoring things because it gives you more of subjective view rather than the emotional caught in the weeds, people that have been here for 4 years, whatever. So that's been good. But my question is, what's within Australia of the last 10 years, what's the highest, an example, and I don't know how much names you can give away, but within your ecosystem, using these types of tools, what's the biggest sort of growth story you've seen? So we're at 4 mil turnover, for example, but whether they started at 2 or 5 or 10, what have you seen within 2 years go sort of bang?
I'll give you an example of one of my clients who graduated 2 weeks ago. That's my terminology, graduate, or their terminology, graduated. Helder had been with me for 4.5 years. He started about the revenue level you're at. When we graduated a couple of weeks ago, they're at 26 million. They're an AWS implementer. They've gone from about 12 staff. They hit 64 when I was with them a couple of weeks ago. Pretty dramatic growth in that time. Interesting enough, as happens, we went through 3 iterations of the leadership team in that 4 years. Because one of the things, and I'm sure Ian can tell you the revenue numbers he's at, the people you start with don't have the skills necessarily to run a business at scale and scaling. So with Helder's business, as I said, we went from a leadership team, and he was a really interesting character because he is an interesting character. He's an immigrant. I've interviewed him actually on my podcast. You can, if you want to go and have a listen.
Yep.
So Helder Klemp, Klemp. He's an immigrant from Brazil, and when he first started, he hired a bunch of immigrants around him, all from Brazil, software engineers. And what he found was that just because they're engineers didn't make them leaders. We started with a leadership team, all these immigrants. The first iteration was we brought in a couple of senior leaders that he poached from Amazon AWS. 1 or 2 of them didn't succeed. So we then ended up with a third iteration. But in the third iteration, Helder himself stepped back to focus on expanding the business into a totally CEO, but working on rather than in. He put a general manager in place and put a COO in place. So it's really interesting. If you listen to Helder's interview, he talked about something I hadn't spoken about it in this way, but he talks about building a boring business. And the boring business is all about building a sales engine that just generates numbers, no surprises. Building a marketing function that just generates numbers and no surprises. And I'd never thought about putting it that way, but I thought it's a really good example of how to scale a business. Make it boring.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, of course you can.
I signed up for 3 programs with community industry type stuff for mentoring.
Yep.
Thinking like in the past I'd missed out on one, like they didn't pair me with someone, so I thought I'll apply for 3 and see how we go. So I happened to get all 3, and I'm catching up. So this time, I happened to get all 3, which was like unexpected, and I'm catching up with all 3 of them. They come from different angles, but what's your view on that? And harsh feedback if needed. Not really much as conflicted, but is it information overload? What's the balance in that side of things in coaching?
I always have a coach. And I've always had a coach. In fact, I have multiple coaches. One of them happens to be my personal trainer. I'm just not self-motivated to get off my ass and go to the gym. So I have a personal trainer, a coach. At the moment, my current coach for my business is a guy called Rana Saini. And when you look at the playbook I've given you, that has come from Rana, which is all about standardizing my IP and codifying my IP. But I've had different coaches at different times. A guy called Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach in the US. I've had a guy called Taki Moore from $1 Million Coach when I was looking to grow the business. When I was looking to learn how to do podcasts, I had a guy called Daniel Priestley from Dent Global. So I would always encourage you to have a coach. I think there are times when if they're coaching you on the same thing, you're probably going to end up very frustrated. Because a coach, what does a coach do? A coach is a teacher. He's a thought leader. He's a thought provoker. He's an accountability partner. He's someone that you can talk about all those dark things of being a founder, CEO that you won't talk to anybody else about. He or she is your confidant. I have written a blog somewhere about, maybe Crystal, if you can find the blog about what a coach does, and if you could send it to Phil for me, please. In there as part of the 280 blogs I wrote. I think that I may have even recorded a video on it, Crystal, if you could search around for me, please. It can happen after the call. So you want to think about what it is you want, Phil, from a coach. And I work on the theory that my clients would work it out by themselves. I only take on smart people and they'd work it out by themselves, but I'm there to accelerate the process. Yeah, Helder would have got to his number by himself, but it probably would have taken him an extra 5 years. Is that helpful?
It is. Yeah, I agree I want to maintain the coach now at all times. I've seen how beneficial it's been. I probably wouldn't have 3 at once, but I don't want to let these guys down that have offered to help me, if that makes sense. One of them knows about the other 2, but 2 of them is within the same sort of sphere, and I just left it as that. So I think I'm going to hatch a plan for 6 months from now. Which one do I want to keep on as such? Maybe one of the 3. And then if a more structured program, potentially like yours, fits in to that as well, I'll have to map this out so there's not information overload, so I can actually get out there and do it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good, the information overload. Like, I don't think you could cope with another coach if you were coaching with me. Yeah, under my program, you're getting a lot of information and a lot of work to do. So it depends on the relationship. If it's more an informal mentor or a full-on thing, you'll work it out.
Yeah, all 3 of them are once a month catch-ups at most, so it's not huge, but yeah, being stuck in the weeds plus that, yeah, I've got to map it out what I'm going to do. Said I'll work it out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it's something you're gonna have to work out. In the meantime, deep dive into my stuff. There's certainly stuff in there you can learn from.
Okay. Yeah, I will do. Thank you.
Ian, anything else from you?
No, but I'm certainly going to look at some of your YouTube stuff. And I think the thing I'd say from my business is I've got the founder of the business and myself have been running it together for a while, and we've split the roles out. So I probably want to have a chat with him, because I think there's stuff that's relevant to both of us here.
Yeah.
So
if I can help you in any other way, don't hesitate to reach out. And I run these on different subjects every 2 weeks, so keep an eye out for them.
Cool. It's been really useful, so I might get in touch. It'll be a little while because he's off for a month.
Okay, no problems at all. Okay, guys, if that's it, we might wrap it up. Thanks so much for coming.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers now.
Take care.